What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's Players Championship. That's right, it is here. Ooh, it is just flowing through the veins right now. We're going to cover this golf course, this field, and everything in between from a statistical standpoint. Before I jump into that, let me show you a couple of things, and we've got some work to do here. So the listener leagues for this week are probably the biggest they've ever been. There is also a 3 and done starting this week, all on Splash. The link is in the description. So we have done such an unbelievable job of filling our weekly tiers contest early. Every single week, we've gone from like $5,000 of guaranteed purse to 10 to 12. It is $18,000 this week on a $20 entry. Splash is showing up. We keep answering the bell. Everything is all good there. But I want to really point out this contest. So this is starting up this week. This is a 3 and done. So you pick 3 golfers each week for the Players Championship and the 4 majors. So 5 tournaments times 3, 15 golfers that you are going to select. And this was incredibly popular last year. And I mean, I loved it too, but I could not believe how popular this was. And Splash said, you know what? Let's see what they can do. We're going to guarantee it for $100,000. First place is going to be 12 grand. Each of the tournaments by themselves are considered a segment. So if you win a segment, or excuse me, if you win a tournament, that's winning a segment. So you win $2,800 for that. And there are 3 places paid out for each segment. So this is a really cool, fun contest. These will fill quickly. The 3 and done is already like 25% full. The tiers contest, we've been filling those like early on Wednesday. So I suggest if you want to get in either one of these, do not wait, because we've been beating the deadlines on everything. So hat tip to you guys, golf clap. And I don't think it's going to be slowing down anytime soon with the way that the schedule is rolling out. All right, let's talk about TPC Sawgrass here. This is the stadium course. It's a Pete Dye design. This is the course that we've seen every single year for, I don't know, 50 years or something like that. And we are back in the March spot. Remember, a couple of years ago, they moved it from May back to March. But I'm looking at this from a statistical standpoint. And it's hard to start with a statistical standpoint because the overhead views are so beautiful. Look how lush the stadium course looks. And what I hate this phrase. I don't hate the phrase, but it is such a overused phrase. But I think it is accurate here. This will be a complete test of golf. Especially from tee to green. You know, I love number 4 because it's kind of a risk reward situation. This is, 290 yards to the edge of this bunker, but you can't drive it too long or else you're going to get into some trouble. And the fairway widths on average at 300 yards are like 28 to 30 yards wide in most scenarios. And then just as you start getting, around the turn into the back nine, like there are opportunities here. The par 5s are opportunities, but missing the fairway, getting in that lush, rough, finding water. There are big numbers out there as well. So what does this look like from a statistical standpoint? Well, the par 5s are the places that you're going to make your hay. And this is a course that significantly rewards tee to green play. Strokes gained off the tee. There are only 7 other courses in which strokes gained off the tee is more correlated to success. Strokes gained approach is 14th. That means there's only 13 other courses. If you look at the secondary stats here, it is all ball striking. Strokes gained off the tee, approaches from 275 yards and greater. Par 5 scoring, strokes gained approaches from 150 to 175. Eagles, approaches from 250 to 275. Scoring average, approaches, scrambling, like approaches. So it is just all a tee to green thing. Now, let me break this down. So off the tee, you have a situation where the missed fairway penalty is significant, about 4/10 of a stroke. The only other courses off the top of my head, I think there's only 3 or 4 of them that have a bigger average missed fairway penalty are Eastlake, Sedgefield, Muirfield Village, and there might be one more, but it's either only 3 or 4 courses that have a bigger average missed fairway penalty. And often the reward for the long drive is not as great as other courses. And it is usually much smaller than the reward that you get, or excuse me, than the the penalty that you would receive for missing the fairway. And you'll see, some courses have a very big missed fairway penalty, but guys hit a lot of fairways. That's not really the case here. So those numbers are going to come into play a lot more frequently. The other thing, the distribution of where approach shots come from is about as well-rounded as you're ever going to see coming at this golf course. You cannot be only a good wedge player. You cannot be only a good long iron player. This has such a uniquely rare, even distribution of approach proximities, or approach buckets, I should say. It's hard to find anything else like that on the PGA Tour. Now, as you get closer to the green, it doesn't necessarily get easier. This golf course is actually, or at least last year, was the second most difficult scrambling from greenside bunkers. Greenside bunkers are everywhere, right? It's Florida golf, water everywhere, bunkers everywhere, thick rough everywhere. That's what we're going to get at TPC Sawgrass. This is such a huge way to separate yourselves, and I'll show you even something else in 1 second here. And then finally, the only average place on these courses, or on this course, is on the putting surfaces. That is statistically average. There is nothing crazy like you see at Torrey Pines where, putts inside 5 feet are at the lowest make percentage or anything like that. It is very, very average statistically on the putting surfaces. And I want to show you some of the past winners here and how they have done this kind of from a statistical standpoint. So I don't always, let me see if I can show this real quick. Okay, so this is actually a graphic that I created. It's I pulled this from the database. I'm actually going to include this likely in my newsletter for this week. It's 100% free. There's a link in the description. You can sign up for that. So what this shows is I went to back to 2013 and I looked at all the strokes gained profiles of all of the winners at TPC Sawgrass. And what I noticed was that a lot of guys ball strike their ways to victory here, or tee to green their way to victories here. They have very little strokes gained putting numbers. The exception being Cam Smith, who had one of the greatest putting weeks ever in ShotLink history when he won here. And then Webb Simpson also had just like an unbelievable short game week when he won here. But a lot of the other winners just did all of their damage from tee to green. And I thought, how does that compare to other events, right? That's the second question I started asking myself. Well, there are only a handful, 5 other courses, actually 4 other courses, because this is tied with RBC Heritage, of the winner having fewer strokes gained putting than here at TPC Scottsdale. Okay, so that's kind of, let me say that again, because it's to make sure I understand that, or I relay this as much as we all understand this. The average strokes gained putting per round for winners since 2013 at TPC Sawgrass is 0.89, so less than a stroke. There are only 4 other stops where that number is lower. The Masters, half a stroke. Hero World Challenge, which you can even throw out, it's such a small field. Tour Championship, same thing, such a small field. Honda Classic and RBC Heritage. So that kind of adds up, right? I also think that Augusta National, East Lake, PGA National, and Harbor Town are kind of ball striking places too. So the eye test and the numbers also parse themselves out here. So what you're going to see me do is you're going to see me put a lot of emphasis on tee to green play this week and less emphasis on putting this week. And the reason for that is the regression models show that for skill types. The winners show that as well. Obviously, it's not the only way to get it done, but I think that is the thing that stands out to me the most when I start going through this golf course. Okay, let's turn our attention here to the cheat sheet. We'll start going name by name, basically. Here it is in all its glory, the cheat sheet from RickRunGood.com. Everything I show you from this point forward is probably going to be my website, RickRunGood.com, unless I flip something else in there. But here it is. And there are Wow, 7 golfers over $10,000 this week. Noteworthy that they have finally stretched Scotty Scheffler up to 12,800. And you'll also notice there are golfers in the $5,000 range this week. So there is a lot to talk about. And because the pricing came out so early and how soft it is, like there's some pretty decent plays in that 5K range, but let's just start at the top here, and we'll start with the number one player in the world, Scotty Scheffler. If you look, actually, before I even pull up his golfer profile, I'm just going to take you straight to the trends tool here, and you're going to see something that I can't remember the last time I've seen this for Scotty Scheffler. The last 36 rounds, he is losing about 2/3 of a stroke from tee to green to himself. Okay, so the way that this trends tool works is it looks at everybody's 100 round baseline, then you put in any number of rounds that you want, and it compares the golfer to their baselines, shows you in which ways they are trending. And I don't remember seeing a time, I guess it was coming, he was having a historically great season, in which Scotty Scheffler was losing to himself. Now, he is losing to himself right now. He is still one of the best trending players, but I thought that that was noteworthy to see that even though he's put together some really good tee to green numbers, it is actually not as good as we have seen from him. I am not at all concerned about Scotty Scheffler. I think there are still a lot of things that he needs to work through. I think he is missing left off the tee more frequently than he used to. I think the short putts are still a little bit of an issue. And with that being said, he's finished, let's see, 9th, 25th, 3rd, and 11th in 2025 after that hand procedure that he had done. The ball striking numbers are absolutely insane. He's got one of the best short games in the world. We just need him to not be a -5 with the putter. And I don't think that that is that much of an ask, considering he has really patched up that part of his game. He's picked up strokes, a few of them, putting over the course of his last 12 rounds at TPC Sawgrass. So I am not at all concerned about Scotty Scheffler. We are rolling him out any possible way that we can get. And if people want to go in a different direction, like, sure, I get it. There's a lot of great players in this field, but Scotty is just click, 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 click as much as I can here. The rest of this range, I think that I think this is really fascinating, right? So let me just kind of go out of order here. Collin Morikawa should have won at Bay Hill, but I'm not going to penalize him for not winning, okay? He did basically everything that we asked of him. He picked up 12.2 strokes from tee to green. He lost a half a stroke putting, with most of that coming on Sunday in the final round. He did not strike it well on Sunday, and he's still, and Russell Henley still needed to chip in on 16. Only the second eagle made from off the green at 16 all week in that spot. If that doesn't go in, it rolls 15 feet past and Collin Morikawa wins, and it would be like an all-time smash spot for everybody in the public. But this is going to somehow be perceived as a negative for him to finish runner-up. His history at TPC Sawgrass is only checkered because he hasn't been able to putt very well here. One of these years, I think it was 22, was the year he got obliterated from the bad wave, I believe. There was a really big wave disadvantage, and I think he was on that side of things that year. I want to point this out. So going back to the start of, I don't know, we could do this a lot of different ways. Since the start of 2024, let's look up everybody in this field, which is basically the best players in the world. Collin Morikawa is the 5th best player in the world. And 4th if you just throw out Rasmus Højgaard, who doesn't play full-time on the PGA Tour. So it is Scotty, Xander, Rory, Collin. End of story. Okay. If you look at the best tee to green players, he's basically 4th or 5th. If you look at the best ball strikers, he is basically, what would that be? Yeah, 6th or 7th, and he is a positive putter in that time frame. I don't care that he doesn't have the wins. I don't care. Like, I have been just beating the drum that 2025 is going to be a big Collin Morikawa year. The metrics back it up. I think this is an excellent spot to run him out as much as possible. He's $10,500. Rory McIlroy. I got to tell you, are you a pessimist or are you an optimist? Because I could frame this a lot of different ways. Rory McIlroy gained just 1 stroke off the tee at Bay Hill last week. One of the worst driving performances for him on the PGA Tour in a while. And so bad that he actually switched out his new tailor-made woods that he had in the bag, the QI whatevers, 35s, I don't know what number they're on, and went back to his QI 10 and those woods on Sunday. Still lost strokes off the tee on Sunday, but I think that is noteworthy, and I don't know what he's going to use at TPC Sawgrass, but I imagine it's probably going to be the old stuff. The other issue is that despite the issues with the driver, with the woods, he lost strokes on approach at least 1.3 in each of the final 3 rounds. You saw how many great opportunities he gave himself. I mean, there were times he was sitting in the middle of the fairway with wedge in hand, and I saw him dump one in the rock, saw him dump one in the water. I mean, just like not good shots. The putter for half the rounds was miserable for 36 holes. All of that, and he finishes T15 at a signature event at Bay Hill. So how do you want to frame this? His history around TPC Sawgrass is obviously very good. He won this in 2019. It's actually kind of all over the place. I shouldn't say it's very good. He's lost strokes putting in like 11 of his last 15 trips. The more that I look at this, the more I'm probably going to be underweight on Rory. It is not and could not and should not be like a full fade. But when you've got Scotty Scheffler, when you've got Colin Morikawa, when you've got Ludwig, when you've got Justin Thomas, other guys, it is a little bit of a harder click here. He doesn't look as engaged to me. That is anecdotal. I usually only deal with the data. Rory looked uncomfortable to me. Rory looked out of it. I don't know what it was. I just never saw that Rory smile, that Rory bounce. I don't know what it is. Let's go to Justin Thomas here. Boy, how many times have I said if Justin Thomas could just putt, he'd win them all? And that's still the case. He loses 5.3 strokes putting at Bay Hill. His history around TPC Sawgrass is very good. He won here in 2021. He actually won here. Is this the event that he won where he was losing strokes putting? No, I think that was in Memphis. But 1.6 strokes is all he needed to gain on the putting surfaces en route to his victory here in 2021. I'm bullish on JT, but you need to understand you are taking on significant risk, right? He could lose 5.5 strokes putting and miss the cut. He could gain 1 and win this golf tournament. I think he is highly risky. Ludwig, I don't want to say it, but is like kind of all over the place right now. He was miserable on Saturday. He was great every other round. We have now seen that a couple of times. Now, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. The only other times we've seen him do this really, really horrible round was mostly when he's been ill, physically ill. Other than that, he's been quite stout. So I think the top 3 for me have to be Scotty, Colin, Ludwig. You sprinkle in Justin Thomas, you sprinkle in Rory McIlroy. If that boxes me out of Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, so be it. I'm hoping that I just don't get burned in those situations. Xander looked like he was shaking off a lot of rust. If he can get it together after 4 rounds at Bay Hill, good for him. But the around the green game has not been good dating back to last year. The putter has now lost him in 4 out of 5. I think that he was a little sloppy around, which is to be expected around Bay Hill, but his history at Sawgrass is bookended by runner-up finishes. Runner-up finishes in 2024 and 2018. The middle 4 are 3 missed cuts and a 19th place finish. So if I end up getting burned by Xander Schauffele and or Patrick Cantlay, I'll be able to sleep at night. I'll be able to live with myself. I will put a note on that 10K range before I do move on. If you look at everybody at TPC Sawgrass dating back to 2015, I've got this sorted by salary. You can see everybody at the top is obviously very good, but Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele are the 2 worst players with at least 8 rounds in that 10K range. I think Ludwig is the only one who doesn't qualify because he hasn't played 8 rounds at TPC Sawgrass, but all the other guys are better. Again, those guys are still gaining a half a stroke or more per round, but all of it together just has me going in a different direction. The 9K range is sick. And I don't mean that from a sick good perspective. I mean it from this might make me physically ill type of direction. There's a lot of risk here. There's a lot of ugliness here. I don't even know where to start. So I guess let's start with Russell Henley, who's $9,500. I always think it's worth pointing out the guy who wins the golf tournament and does it before the salaries come out, so that he's not really priced into it. Although I will tell you, $9,500 is probably the same price that they would have laid on Russell Henley, even if they came out with these salaries after the victory. He was awesome. He was a little bit reliant on the short game. In fact, the 6 strokes that he gained around the green at Bay Hill, it's probably one of the highest numbers of his career. It is. So, probably unlikely to happen again. Pretty unsustainable stuff, but he was great all over the place. He gets a little lucky on 16, but luck happens with victories. He still gained another 3 strokes ball striking. You probably do not see me chasing Russell Henley points here. I know that he's got 4 top 10 finishes in his 5 starts in his last 5 starts in 2025. I love his game, but this is not a golf course that he's played particularly well at. He has 0 top 10 finishes in like 12 trips. His best finish is a T13 that came in 2022. It doesn't necessarily fit his eye. I don't think he does not always gain strokes on approach here outside of that 1 year in 2022 when he did go nuts, which again was his best finish. You're kind of chasing this the week after a victory. I don't really like anything about this, to be quite honest with you, but we will have plenty of Russell Henley later, right? Just like the rest of the year, we're going to have a lot of exposure to Russell Henley. I don't see it happening now. Victor Hovland. I'm not waving the white flag, but whatever you wave when you're really, really scared and you don't know what to do, that's the flag that I'm waving. The good news is we were correct that it was a pretty good ball striking week for Victor. Gained 4.3 strokes on approach in 2 rounds at Bay Hill. It is a golf course that he can really separate. The problem is the putter. He lost 6 strokes putting, had one of the worst rounds of his career. On the putting surface, didn't really back it up. I thought the stroke looked quite tentative. This is a golf course that is going to require a lot more around the green functionality than Bay Hill, and we know that he has not made any gains there. Couple of swings go wrong. A couple of loose swings are big numbers in a hurry here. And now I'm going to have to wait and see. I was ready to be early on Victor at Bay Hill. Now I'm going to have to wait and see. And that pains me to say, but I think that is the truth. A couple of other notes here. Where do we want to go next? Oh, Daniel Berger. So I got a message from somebody. Daniel Berger, what he do in the opening round? He loses 3.3 strokes to the field, and somebody came back to comment like, "This Daniel Berger guy stinks" or whatever, right? I'm like, okay. He goes nuts over the final 3 rounds. He ends up finishing T15, and that's by making, I think he made a double or a bogey on the last hole, which dropped him out of the top 10. Daniel Berger over the final 3 rounds, I bet you, I can just pull this up. I don't need to really bet you on it. Was probably one of the better players in the field last week. Let's see. Everybody in the field, showdown cheat sheet. Yeah. Okay. He was the third best player in the field. So Sepp Straka was 1. Michael Kim and Russell Henley were 2. And then Ben On, Colin Morikawa, Daniel Berger, and Jason Day all picked up 8.1 strokes from total over the final 3 rounds. Could you have guessed that? Because So now we've got, in his last 8, he's got 5 unbelievable rounds and 3 pretty crappy rounds. What's his history here? Pretty good. Has missed 1 cut. It came 10 years ago. His last 2 trips are 2 of his best 3 trips. He gets a pretty significant price increase, which always throws people off. I think I'm going back to Berger. That's crazy to me. I mean, that is crazy how he was able to finish. Again, the well-rounded nature. He is so good. Tommy Fleetwood's another, right? Tommy, you know that Tommy is going to backdoor himself a T6 at the Players. I say this every single week. The well-rounded gains in his game are so good in Florida, so good at major championships, so good at places where it's going to be difficult and guys are going to make a lot of bogeys and doubles and put big numbers on the scorecard. like that falls right into the hands of Tommy Fleetwood. So now he goes T5 at Torrey, T11 at Bay Hill. I'm in. I'm in. So in on Tommy, in on Daniel Berger. The rest of this range is kind of nauseating. I think Hideki's okay. I think Wyndham Clark is okay in small bites, right? Showdown and first round leader and matchup scenarios. Tony Finau played 9 holes like he was the best player in the world, played 9 holes like he was the worst player in the world, and kept doing that. The around the green play, struggling last week. What do you see in this profile? You see a guy who's got something else going wrong every week. This is a worse version of the Cantlay profile that we saw last week. It is just, where does he gain? And where does he separate himself from the field? His history here is not good. T19 2 years ago is his best finish. As many missed cuts as made cuts. So this 9K range, I think, is going to be tough for guys to figure out. For me, it's Fleetwood, it's Berger. I think that's pretty clear. And then I think I'll move on. I've got the last 36 rounds here for everybody in that 9K range. Victor Hovland is a 0, basically a tour average player in his last 36. Tony Finau, tour average player. Wyndham Clark, well below average. Sam Burns, barely above average. And then everybody else has been a lot better than that. Fleetwood's been the best. Lowry's been very good. Berger's been very good. Henley, of course, has been very good, but a lot of that comes from his last 4. No punishment there, but just pointing out the fact. So, yeah, that 9K range are basically they're better players in name value than they are on the golf course right now. The 8K range. Lay some respect on my man Sepp Straka right now. $8,600 and a top 10 machine. My goodness. Look at this profile. It is gorgeous. It is well-rounded. The better parts are the tee to green and the ball striking, the ability to get hot with the putter. The good finishes are following. In events that are good, bad, and indifferent, he is getting to the top of the board. He wins the American Express, sure, whatever. Weak field. Finishes 7th at Pebble Beach. Okay, got my attention there. 5th at Bay Hill. Okay, now we're cooking with gas, right? And his history, he finished 16th here last year, 65th in 2023, 9th in 2022. I'm going to cherry pick this, but let's go back to, let's just do since the start of 2025. I'm not even going to give him credit for the T9 at the Hero because there was only 18 players in that field. So let's go back to the start of 2025. Holy Grail, strokes gained by tournament. Everybody in this field since the start of 2025. How high do we think Sepp Straka is going to be on this list in terms of total strokes gained? 5th. Yikes. Laurie Cantor is number 1. His rounds are all Euro DP World Tour rounds, which we will definitely be talking about him when we get down to the $6,000 range. It is Colin Morikawa, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, Sepp Straka. And Sepp Straka has played 30 rounds compared to all those other guys who have played 20 or fewer. Sepp Straka has turned into a very high-end fantasy golfer and golfer in general, because those things are so much more aligned in golf than any other sport. This is incredible. I have no notes for Sepp. Avoid the big number, big boy. Like, he plays well in Florida. He knows how, he's played well at Cognizant. He's played well at Bay Hill. Like, what else? Awesome. Amazing. Jordan Spieth is here. Jordan Spieth, who thinks he should have got a sponsor's invite into Bay Hill, now gets to prove it. Now gets to prove that he was snubbed by going out and playing well at the Players' Championship, in which this event has been his kryptonite. His best finish was in 2014 when he was one of the best players in the world. He finished T4. He then missed 3 straight cuts and does not have a finish inside. He has one other finish inside the top 40, and it was a T19 in 2023. Do we think he breaks the streak this time around? Probably not. He's still losing strokes on approach in 4 out of his last 5. Do we think the putter is back? Maybe. I kind of doubt it. And there's big numbers everywhere. So not Jordan Spieth for me. Robert McIntyre has quietly also had a very good 2025. I want to go back to that holy grail here. Where does Robert McIntyre check in? Robert McIntyre. Maybe it's not as good as I thought it's been. Here he is. Okay, he's picking up 0.79 strokes per round in 26 rounds in 2025. The miscut at Riviera, that's not good. That hurts it a little bit. But some really good finishing positions here. He's losing a quarter of a stroke with the putter. And he's capable of losing a lot. Yes. Yeah. He lost 4 in Hawaii. He lost 2 at Pebble Beach. He lost 5.5 at Torrey Pines. Maybe he just needs to putt in Florida. But I like the way that Robert McIntyre sets up with the way that he drives it. I think he's going to position himself very well. And I think the rest of his game is very underrated. His history at the Players, not good. He's played it twice, 2021, 2024. And missed the cut in both of them. Can I convince myself on Siwoo? I would love to. I would love to on a Pete Dye course, especially one that he's won at. I would love to get there on Siwoo. I don't think it's going to be possible. The weapon, the driver, not great. It's been good. It's been fine the last 2, but not great. The approach play is lost in 3 out of 6 around. Yeah, I don't think I can get to. Can't get to Siwoo, unfortunately. Maybe the most interesting golfer here is Will Zalatoris at $8,700. He's really hit it well recently. Since the start of 2025, I love the second shot play. I mean, he picked up 4.5 on approach last week, which included him gaining in all 4 rounds. Go back to Torrey. It's now 7 rounds in a row that he has picked up strokes on approach. That lab broomstick has not fixed the putter. He was miserable last week at Bay Hill. He lost 6 strokes putting. It's the only problem. Gained 7.5, 7.8 from tee to green, 5 the week before, 6.7 back at the net bank. Like he's a gainer, and he can be a big time gainer from tee to green. I just need that putter to come around. If you can find a hot putter for the week, it is probably Will Zalatoris being in contention, but that might be a big ask at this point. The 7K range might be as worrisome as the 9K range is, but I do think there are a handful of golfers that need to be discussed. Firstly, Keegan Bradley, who, because of the run that he had on Sunday in the finishing position, he's basically gets the designation as the guy who is most mispriced. We can argue about whether this is a good click or not, but let me just break down what he's been up to. What he did on Sunday, and really in the first 10 holes at Bay Hill, or 9 holes, had literally never been done before. And then I think he made another birdie on 10, right? So he just was scorching. He shot a 29 on the front 9. That's 7.5 strokes gained in 1 round. He also had a round on Thursday where he picked up 5.6. To put that into perspective, what did Colin gain? Colin gained 12. No, I'm sorry. Russell gained. See, I thought Colin Morikawa won that golf tournament. My brain was already ready for it. Russell Henley picked up 12.7 strokes from in total last week. Keegan did that in 2 rounds. He did that on Thursday and Sunday. If he would have played to a 0 on Friday and Saturday, he's in a playoff or he wins the golf tournament. He didn't. He was a 0 on Friday and he lost 4.2 strokes on Saturday. The point I'm trying to make is that he's flashing the ability to win golf tournaments. He's played pretty well in 2025, and he's done it with his strengths, which is the ball striking, which is, of course, what I want around here. And that putter, which he kind of lost from the Open Championship to the end of the year of the Tour Championship, is back. He's now picked up strokes putting in 6 of 8. And his history at the Players, I almost called it the Tour Championship. He's missed his last 2 cuts, but he had a really good run of 6 made cuts prior to that, with a 5th place finish, a 7th, a T16. He's played here a ton, a lot of different results, a lot of good, a lot of bad. $7,700 is a really good price. Aaron Rai has quietly gotten back to being one of the better ball strikers on the PGA Tour, which is exactly what his DNA is. So he picks up 10 strokes from tee to green in Mexico, finishes T4, picks up 6 from tee to green at Bay Hill and finishes T11. If he's going to do that, he's in play. He's made both cuts here that he's played, and this is him being back. Aaron Rai's ceiling might be win the Wyndham Championship, but it might be finished T7 at the Players, which would be really, really good. And then finally, Christian Bezuidenhout, who I'm going to start with his history at the Players Championship because it's 3 made cuts in a row and back-to-back T13 finishes, where he's picked up 10 strokes on approach in those 2 starts. We're going to need that. This is the opposite of basically every other player. Every other player, you look at this and you say, okay, he's got this great floor from tee to green, or he's got this great ball striking floor. We just need him to putt well on greens that he's putted on well before. Well, Christian Bezuidenhout is the polar opposite. He has this unbelievable short game baseline, and we just need him to hit it the way he has hit it here before. Is it possible? I don't know. I cannot predict the future, but I'm willing to give him one chance at this. One chance for Christian Bezuidenhout to get that part figured out. Okay, the 6K range. First off, the models are begging JT Poston to break out here. You can see he is in that upper left-hand quadrant of breakout candidates. The model loves it. I don't. I think you got to use a little bit of your brain here for a second. Notoriously one of the best putters on the PGA Tour, has lost, 25 strokes putting in 2025. He has gained in no tournament, and he's just lost 10 strokes putting at Bay Hill, which is probably the worst of his entire career. I don't think it's even remotely close. The good news is hit the cover off the ball. But I would say this big of a delta and this distance from a guy's DNA is terrifying. So the model, like if you start modeling ball striking and bounce back ability and all this stuff, like JT Poston's going to pop up. I am not as optimistic, but I did at least want to talk about him because he's probably going to show up when I model all that stuff in a couple of minutes. This is mostly the usual suspects here. If you want to play Lucas Glover, if you want to play Ben Griffin, fine. I'm giving Ricky Fowler a one-time only pass here. I know we've talked about him a lot, and it is mostly me looking at his profile and saying, I don't like what I see. I don't like what I see. He showed me enough, I believe, at PGA National, and then when they slapped a $6,600 price tag on him, I'm now intrigued. He's putted better. He's picked up strokes in each of his last 2. He was a great ball striker at the Cognizant. He picked up 3 off the tee and 3.3 on approach. We know that he has won at this golf course. It was 10 years ago, but it is good vibes. He usually putts well here. I'm giving him a 1 week only. A 1 week only crack at it for Ricky Fowler. The price is too good. I already alluded to this a little bit, but probably the best guy in the range is Laurie Cantor. So there's a lot going on here. First off, look at that headshot. Second off, really good ad for RickRunGood.com here. So I cover 6 tours, DP World Tour. I've got the Live Golf data. I've got the PGA Tour, Korn Ferry, all that stuff, right? With all the strokes gained when they're available. So when I did everybody in this field since the start of 2025, Laurie Cantor's name popped up number 1. Now he's played on the DP World Tour, so it is not the same competition level. But he finished 3rd at the Dubai Desert Classic. You got a lot of really good names in that field. He won in Bahrain. He finished 35th in Qatar, and then he finished runner-up at the South African Open Championship. And I believe that was that the one where they went to it, they were tied after 54 holes, and the weather was so bad they just sent those 2 guys to a playoff, and then he lost in the playoff? Because I'm pretty sure that's what that is. It's like, he might have won that golf tournament if it was played normally. But yeah, it was, because here's the 3 rounds. So Laurie Cantor's been unbelievable in 2025, and actually probably longer than that, because he is now going to be the first live golfer to come back and play a PGA Tour event. So he was last full-time a live golf member in 2023. He played twice as a replacement in 2024, and then he went out and he had to earn his way into this golf tournament. He won the European Open in 2024, and he's just been playing great golf on the DP World Tour. So I think it is pretty easy to say Laurie Cantor, $6,000. I mean, he's the hottest player in this range by far. One of the best players in the world in 2025. Even if you want to knock him a bit for the fields that he's been playing against, that's fine. But Laurie Cantor at 6,000 is a great price. Justin Rose, 6,300, another one. I spent a lot of time on Justin Rose last week. I won't rehash all of that, but I think he's playing some of the better golf of his career. And I think when he has it going, he's got a lot of upside. You're going to see a ton of Michael Kim exposure this week. $5,900, Michael Kim is at it again, right? One of the things that I mentioned last week, the week before, is that when you gain throughout the bag on the PGA Tour, meaning you gain strokes on approach, off the tee, around the green, and with the putter, it is the best immediate predictor of success. If you do it one week, you're likely to do it the next, and you're likely to do it the next, and you're likely to do it the next. Michael Kim is now, for 5 tournaments in a row, gained strokes in all 4 categories. We thought it was fun when he did it in Phoenix. We were like, he didn't let Torrey Pines, but he's a good long iron player. Oh, he did it at the Mexico Open, weak field. PGA National, those guys stink too. Oh, he did it at Bay Hill? Yeah, like, I don't know what else to say. Michael Kim is playing some of the best golf in the world right now. I'll cherry pick this, but 4 rounds times 5 is 20. Let's just go to the power rankings here. Put everybody in this field over the last 20 rounds, all the rounds in the world. They got to have 12 to qualify, sort it by strokes gained total. I actually think I just double clicked it, so I think it's going to go the other way. It did. Here we go. Last 20 rounds, best players in the world, minimum of 12. Laurie Cantor, number 1. Michael Kim, number 2. Those 2 in salary combined are $11,900. Number 3 is Scotty Scheffler, $12,800. Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa, Russell Henley. No opinion in this whatsoever. Those are the numbers. Michael Kim has been incredibly impressive. I bet you, and I said this last week, anytime you look at the past history for Michael Kim, it's always ugly. Yeah, it is. 3 missed cuts and a T60 going back to 2017. You just never need to worry about course history for Michael Kim because it does not apply. There's a lot of good plays in the 5K range. Both Højgaard brothers, okay? That is Rasmus and it is Nikolai. They are both in this field. If I only get to pick one, I think for this week it's Nikolai, but it's close. I love the way that Nico's been hitting it. Multiple strokes, 3 or more strokes gained on approach in 3 straight. That's all 3 of his PGA Tour events in 2025. But the good play and the good metrics go back to the DP World Tour. Here's Rasmus's profile. Rasmus has struggled a little bit recently. Got beat up at Torrey Pines. Got beat up at Vedanta World. Before that, he was red hot. So just, maybe he gets it right for this week. We haven't seen him play in a couple of weeks. So I prefer Nico, but both of them I think are very good options for this week, especially when you're comparing to like Eric Cole, Kevin Yu, that stuff. I think the Højgaards are both better there. I want to see okay, good. This is what I wanted to see. Joe Highsmith missed the cut at Bay Hill. I'm not going to penalize him for that the week immediately after the first win of his career, and he still gained a stroke with the putter. That's a really good sign, okay? Because that's not his strength. So let's now get him back to the baseline there from tee to green. So I think there's some really, like Michael Kim, Joe Highsmith, both Højgaard brothers are already very good options in the 5K range. Is there anybody else? Alex Smalley is 5,400. That's criminal. When I went and did, what did I do? I did everybody in this field since the start of 2025. And I was making this big deal out of Sepp Straka being 5th. Alex Smalley was 6th. Okay. 22 rounds. He's gaining 1.4 strokes gained per round. Alex Smalley's been awesome. Jacob Bridgman's been awesome. He's 5,300. I don't think I need to play anybody else down here because those guys are all really good. But wow, you could conceivably play Scotty and... Could you play Scotty and Colin? Scotty, Colin, and the Højgaard brothers? Or Scotty, Colin, and Smalley and Michael Kim? Like probably, you probably could. Okay, let's run a model. Let's see what the model has to say here. So custom model, RickRunGood.com. I will put a baseline, just a little guy, of 10 on weighted strokes gained in the last 36 rounds because I want that little bit. We got guys from different tours. I want that little bit of a baseline there. Now I'm just going to smash tee to green, right? I guess I could just let's do off the tee, last 24 for 15. Strokes gained approach, last 36 for 25. Around the green, last 24 for 15. And then just for kicks, putting last 24 for 10. I'm also going to I could do bogey avoidance. I could do I don't even know if I want to do TPC Sawgrass history. It's very checkered for some guys. A lot of guys. I mean, we'll just put 5 on it. TPC Sawgrass. We've got 20 left. Let us do 10 on bogey avoidance. I could do sand saves, which would add more to around the green, but it is pretty important here. Let's run that model. Okay. Yeah. So this is sickening, isn't it? Rory number 1, Justin Thomas number 2, Scotty Scheffler number 3, Michael Kim is number 4. I'm telling you, it's just now he has enough rounds to break every model here, right? He's got 20 rounds where he's been. Has he even lost? When is the last time in a round? All right, strokes gained by round. Michael Kim. Is he just gaining every round, or am I nuts right now? He has not lost a stroke. He had 2 rounds where he lost a half a stroke and a third of a stroke. A stroke or more since the second round of the Farmers. And then basically this stretch continued. So in his last, or this stretch start. So in his last 20 rounds, he has gained in 17 of them. And the most he has lost in any one round is a half a stroke. So yeah, he's breaking models at this point. Wow. Michael Kim is 5, Shane Lowry is 6, Tommy Fleetwood, Kurt Kitayama, Hideki, and Russell Henley. Sepp is 11. Alex Smalley is 12 at 5,400. Andrew Putnam is 5,500. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good. I'm just gonna run one lineup. I don't like to do this because I don't want you guys. I don't want to give out lineups. I don't want you guys to play lineups. I don't want you to ask me for them. I want you to play them. I just don't want you to like play the lineup that I'm about to model here. But I just want to see what it does. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought it was going to do. It jams Scotty and Rory into both of them. So it's got Scotty, Rory, or into both of them in the same lineup. So that's Scotty, Rory, Michael Kim, Alex Smalley, Andrew Putnam, Kurt Kitayama. Yeah, I thought it might do that. That's what I wanted to see. And that's the less $2,000 left over. So yeah, you can play the big boys. Okay, there is that level of flexibility for this week. It's going to be sick. I'm going to see you guys for Tuesday on the live chat. You're going to go sign up for RickRunGood.com and you're going to go sign up for the Splash contest because they're going to fill very quickly and we're going to have a great time and it's going to be an amazing week and I'm looking forward to it. Best of luck and I'll talk to you guys soon.